An MP's life is a busy one. Normally we have MPs come and visit us in the studio a couple of times a month, and couldn't make it today, but she is in Westminster this morning. Maria Caulfield, MP for Lewis. Hello.
Good morning.
You're sat there in some echo chamber, I do believe. Is what it sounds like anyway, but that's the wonders of Skype.
Yes, I am. I'm in Westminster. Yes, via Skype, because I've got my Southern Rail debate today. So I'll be standing up for passengers of Lewis and the Uckfield area.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? People think, oh no, not the railways again. But of course, the problem wasn't just the strikes, was it? There was a big issue with Southern trains before this strike actually got underway, wasn't there?
Yes, absolutely. And although the strikes have been suspended next week, which is fantastic news, we all know that a return to normal service is not necessarily something to look forward to, because normal service for the past 18 months has been absolutely awful on Southern Rail, and they're the issues that I want to raise with the Rail Minister this afternoon to make sure that a return to normal service is actually an improvement for all of us.
Can we just, I don't know if you can explain this to us, but the franchise that Southern have, it's slightly different to most other rail franchises, isn't it? I believe.
That's right. Yes, it was set just at the end of 2014. It was set, and the difference between this contract and any other contract in the country is that Southern are paid a management fee of £1 billion a year to run the network. And all the fares are collected and kept by the government. And so if the trains are running but there's no passengers, actually Southern don't lose any money off trains are late and people aren't booking to travel with them. It's the government that takes the hit and not Southern. Whereas in every other rail contract up and down the country, the operator collects the fares, and then if they are having to pay out for repayments or delays or compensation, they take the hit. So it's a very different contract, and we're all hoping that this contract will be reviewed and changed in the future.
I was going to say, it's not a good idea, this contract, because it doesn't seem to be any incentive to Southern Railway to actually improve things.
No, I mean, whether you've got late running trains, whether you've got more passengers or less passengers, Southern Rail doesn't either benefit from an increase in passenger numbers, and it's not penalised if passengers decide not to use the rail service. So it's not. There's nothing really in it for Southern to run a good service. They are fined. They have been fined over £2 million for poor performance before the dispute. But actually, what most rail passengers want is a reliable service. They're not that interested in getting repayments or compensation. They just want their trains to get them to work and get them home again on time.
Yeah, so you've got this debate this afternoon, which you're behind. What are you actually going to be proposing then with this? Are you actually going to be proposing that the government actually does change this contract, or are you looking to sort of get the franchise put out to tender again?
Well, I mean, given the amount of disruption over, say, the last 4 or 5 months, it's been very difficult to measure performance. But if it returns to anything like it was before the dispute, that we cannot accept. I'm going to be asking for a period of time that Southern have to get their performance up to the same rate as every other rail operator in the country. And if not, then we seriously need to look at stripping the franchise and having tougher penalties on Southern. They've only been fined £2 million for a £1 billion a year contract. That's pennies to them. So they have to have a set time in which performance has to improve, or else review that franchise. But long term, that contract needs to change. Whoever runs that service, if they are not collecting the fares and they're not impacted by having to give out compensation or repayments, then really they've got no incentive to make that railway work.
Isn't what's coming out of Southern Railway fairly indicative of the whole Govia group? Because none of their services seem to be in the top echelons of rail performance, do they? They're all in the bottom half.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's something that we do need to look at. And that's something that the Department of Transport should be looking at, certainly when they're awarding contracts, but also there needs to be some enforcement. If you're not meeting your targets, then the Department of Transport should be penalising them and taking action, because there's no incentive otherwise to get performance up. And they've had the excuse of the dispute. So it has been almost impossible to measure normal performance, but that is hopefully coming to an end. And so we need to be setting them at set time periods where performance either improves or we look at that contract and let passengers have a decent railway service.
Yeah, I mean, the good news out of all of this, with ASLEF withdrawing from next week's strikes, is of course that Southern have actually agreed to reinstate services from Tuesday. But of course, you've still got the spectre of the RMT looming. They're striking on Monday. They've got 12 drivers who are going to also strike on Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday. Going to make any difference, is it?
Well, I mean, Southern say that, on Monday they will be able to provide 70% of rail services, which is a big improvement in normal strike days. So obviously we want all strikes to be resolved, but Southern are confident that even with the RMT strikes, they can return to a full timetable on Tuesday. I'm optimistic that will happen, but really we need to get all strikes resolved and return to a full timetable going forward.
Well, we'll keep our eyes out for how you get on this afternoon with the debates, and we'll come back to the rail situation once we know what's happening after next week, see how the railways perform. Maria, we'll come back on that one.